So,
What up? Oh, why are you coming through? That would be why.
what happened?
I was like, why are you coming through my speakers? I got my headphones in.
They're not
I got
plugged
them in, but they're not plugged in.
That's what I
Jesus
figured.
Christ. Jesus Cristo.
So I forgot to shut the door upstairs. I think you can hear like a baby running around, right?
Yo, Wrestle Kingdom. I saw some highlights. This shit looked really good.
I watched the entire thing till 4 a.m. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Wrestle Kingdom at the end. We'll talk about All Elite Wrestling. We'll kick off with me and Gene.
I figured I'm going to title this episode, Let Me Tell You Something, Mean Gene.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anything Mean Gene. Like, mean by God. Woo, Gene. I'm going to do that.
Holy balls.
Okay, yeah, maybe if you kind of chop us some Mean Gene quotes really quickly or some shit and just throw them in the beginning.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that'll be cool.
I need to just go shut the door though. Probably 1 second. We'll just kick it off, okay?
All right, yeah.
I can hear this little munchkin running around upstairs like and saying baby words. Okay, 1 second.
Man.
Perfect timing there. Okay. You know what? I think maybe it's this room that's better than my bedroom or something, but like I feel like I sounded a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like I sounded a lot better on that watch long than I do in most times. I don't know.
You sound better. I'm not sure how I feel, but you're wearing the same shirt 2 days in a row, though.
I fucking took my grandma shopping and then to the temple.
Right.
And at the temple, I spilled so much food on myself that they're on the wash upstairs. All my NWO pants, my wrestling classic hoodie.
Oh my god!
I found like this is like Indian food on my clothes. So I just came back and threw my pajamas back on and did the thing. Okay, should we rock and roll?
Yeah.
Is there anything else we should touch on before? Okay. Okay, you booked a hotel for WrestleMania, but I'm gonna be the Thursday, so I'm probably if I do split it with you, I'll have to spend a day somewhere else, which is fine. I'm sure I can figure that out for one day. Somebody will hook me up to stay with them. Let me know what the split would be. 2, yeah. I emailed Joe this morning, Villa. Probably going to get canned, but I figured, I just thought I'd shoot him an email anyways.
Right.
I'm just going to message Seamus. I'm going to email Joe again this morning to try for Radio Row. But let me know if there's anyone else you think I could probably hit up. Should I say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Seamus. I emailed Joe this morning. This morning again. Joe Villa.
Has he ever listened to our show?
Again this morning to try for Radio Row again. But I was curious. Let me know if there is anyone else or anything else you think I should try doing. Anyone else I should try talking to? Or anything else I should try doing?
Yeah, because I mean that's.
Hopefully it works out better this year. Since we have a legitimate.
Roxy goes. Tell Justin for the last WrestleMania when we shared a room with a friend, we only made sexy time twice when he was in the room. I was like, I was like, I'm pretty sure we didn't even do it when he wasn't in the room, right? And she's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? You sound all. I was like, I'm the guy. I'm always ready.
You let her know that if you guys come back to the room and there's a sock on the doorknob, I'm joking. I'm letting you guys in. I'm letting you guys in.
Taco.
Okay, so that's that. So I just messaged James, emailed Joe this morning. Sponsors, did you hit him up at all again?
No, I told you I'm gonna call him Monday.
Okay.
That way he has a full week to finally get everything ready.
Phones on do not disturb.
Actually, I'm gonna shoot him an email right now.
I already emailed Dash. Obviously, didn't get back. Impact kind of got back to me. Mariah just wants me to do things for her, of course, because she's a princess. Can you grab me this video? Vince is like, bro, with all due respect, if you live in the United States and you're getting up at 3 a.m. to watch grown men fake fight in Japan, you might be a mark. Bro. Okay, got your hangouts. How's the sweat? It's comfy, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, comfy sweaters. Hulkamania, brother, gonna be a Monday Night Raw. What a slick. We'll talk about that. What a slick way to bring him back to main television, using Mean Gene's death. Yeah, I'm gonna say, fucked, right?
Right.
You can't get mad about it now. He's here because of Mean Gene. You know, it's what Mean Gene would have wanted.
Of course, that's what he would have wanted. Yo, how did you get these shirts so cheap?
What shirts? The ones I'm wearing?
These one, like all like I saw, like it was like a grand total of like $6 for both on the receipt.
That's bullshit. It was $6, but then I also had to pay the additional whatever was on like what the actual shirts cost. So like that's why it probably cost like $30.
That's what I thought because I was like, holy shit! I was like, I'd have like 18,000 Wrestling Classic and Square Circle DNA shirts.
Probably cost $30. Roxy's probably cost like 30 something too. So it was like 60 in total.
God damn.
That extra charge, I made it minimum because that's the money I would have made anyway. So I basically made $6 off of it.
Hey,
this is what happens. I'm like, I don't need to pay myself for this. I'm paying for them. But they don't show the full price on the fucking receipt because when I do the discount code for it, it just charges my account for the.
I got you.
And I don't make any. I technically just scrape the part of me making any money off of it.
Right, because I was like, I was looking at that and I was like, I gotta fucking ask Justin. I was like, what is the code? I was like, is this our cost? Because
that just means I made no money on it. I just paid for them pretty much, and then the printing was pretty much free. That's all it is. You know, I paid for the sweaters. Is basically what happened.
Well, I'd still appreciate it.
No problem.
But I was about to get excited and be like, dude, let me only wear.
So technically, though, like the shirts, if they cost like $16 a shirt or $8 a shirt, you could get a shirt for $8 just by marking down the cost for yourself with the discount code, and actually just pay $8 to get the shirt, and they'll print on it for you.
That's true. Because I don't have a Wrestling Classic shirt.
Yeah, because all you have to do is pay for the fucking shirt then.
Right. What is the discount code?
I had two. One, TWC 2018 is the one that will give you 50% off the whole purchase. And then the one I might have used is I'll have to fix it because I think it's just with my one email.
Gotcha.
Or you can use it info@wrestlingclassic.com email, and the code's Mr. TWC, I think.
Gosh.
And then it's like 75% off your purchase. Because yeah, man. I messaged a guy though. I'm like, what if we want to order stuff in bulk? And he's like, it has to be a minimum of 50. And I didn't respond yet because I'm like, let's find out if we can do this whole WrestleCon thing first.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's no point of buying all these shirts in bulk and shit if we can't even have someone to sell them.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, WrestleCon still doesn't spun it back at all.
Yeah, I'll try to set them up again. It'd be annoying.
That's just weird though. I don't understand that, but whatever. All right. The watch along is blowing up pretty nicely.
Yeah. I saw.
11,000 listens.
Okay, ready? Should we
Yeah.
rock and roll? Oh, wait, is there no sponsors you can email? Sorry.
Is your phone muted?
Yeah, it's muted. It's on Do Not Disturb, and it's at 55%, but we don't need it today.
You
Computer's at 87. So I was sitting here for a bit, just fucking around while I was waiting for you. Mania. Yeah, hopefully Dash gets back to us as soon as January now.
That'd be great. One of these people have to get us fucking in.
Well, the Isaac guy seemed very wanting to help us to even get to WrestleMania and stuff, but at the same time, we gotta get the ball rolling, man.
Yeah. You got rid of me on TWC Shop?
No, I did not.
The email address you provided was not found.
Which email? Okay, figure it out after. What email did you use?
My only one.
Maybe because you didn't fucking log in for 10 million years. They're like, fuck it.
Maybe because I forgot I had access to it.
I gotta pick a specific girl. I ordered a small crew neck squared circle DNA sweater thing, but I don't know who to give it to. Someone that will model it.
Give it to fucking Mariah.
I could.
You do enough other favors for her.
She does. I really don't actually think about it. Just post her or no poster.
I'm gonna go through magazines tonight and see what I can get for Mean Gene pictures.
Okay, let's just rock and roll this Mean Gene thing first, and
let's roll.
Get the podcast at least over with in an hour. Try to rock it for as short as possible. Where did the screen go with the Google Hangouts? Nope. This is wrestlingclassic.com. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, whoa, this guy yawned in the middle of my ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Let's shut the
You can't just randomly start. You got.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's a Wrestling Classic, and I am back with my co-host, the real Danny B, and we're back for the Squared Circle DNA Show, episode 30-something.
35.
35. We have as many episodes as there are WrestleManias. WrestleMania 35 is around the corner. It's fitting. Because
it is fitting.
We just found out Danny's going to WrestleMania. I'm pretty much going to WrestleMania. Not really official, but pretty official. And we'll see what happens down in New York City, man.
That's right. The city that never sleeps.
Yeah, man. If we can't make it there, we can't make it anywhere. So we're gonna try to make it there. We're gonna try to make it in New York, and we're gonna try to make it in New York.
It's gonna be the first time Justin and I physically meet face to face.
Yeah, that's actually really weird. I never even thought of that.
You and I have been talking like every single day for, at that time, it'll be almost a year.
Have we even been in the same city?
We were in New Orleans together. We were messaging each other when we were on Bourbon Street, but there was just way too many people.
And that was before the podcast. We were just gonna start it.
Yep.
Wow, look at that. Look what can happen in a year, you know?
It's crazy.
But yeah, 2019, Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first episode of 2019.
That's right.
I wish everyone a Happy New Year. I hope you guys all had a wonderful time spending time with your friends and family. And there's a lot going on in the wrestling world in the new year. 2019 has already kicked off with a lot of wrestling news. And you know what? The last couple of weeks of 2018, we were kind of really digging for something, stuff to talk about. But there's a lot to talk about. Some good things, some very sad things. And Wrestle Kingdom was last night. Or a couple of nights ago, because this drops on Sunday.
That's right. Wrestle Kingdom was the 3rd/4th.
Yeah, and I watched it. I stayed up. I was up till 5 a.m. and I watched Wrestle Kingdom. We'll talk all about that at some point on this show, right? And of course, we got to talk a little bit about AEW. That's if you know, you know. If you don't, we'll talk about it in a bit. And yeah, and honestly, this Raw and SmackDown was pretty eventful. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
They're
stuff.
finally trending up, but it's the road to WrestleMania starting,
Yeah.
and this is kind of consistent with what we see every year from WWE.
There was some things that really stood out for me. I think the first couple of hours of Raw was great. We'll dig into that in a bit. SmackDown was a solid show. We got to see some cool things. Becky Lynch and Cena and a bunch of other stuff. But we'll get all into that because the one thing that we do want to talk about, we'll probably spend the most time talking about, is the late great, the voice of the WWE, the voice of a lot of our childhood, someone that was like so prominent for just a fixture to the wrestling world, if you ask me. Like he was just someone that like you think of professional wrestling, whether it was WWF, WCW, and you think of him. Like he's just someone that I think, I don't want to say this in like a bad way, but maybe in a sense that like we took for granted. Like
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
because like he was just always there, and I mean like till this day, like even when we hit into the early 2000s, it was Confidential, it was Vintage Collection on Saturday, like. And if you guys haven't picked up on it yet, or you haven't heard the news, it's very sad to hear that we lost Mean Gene Oakland.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago as well. And that's who we're talking about, man. Like Mean Gene was like he was the guy.
He was.
You know,
everything about like his voice, man, just so iconic. Like his enunciations, like everything about like the just Mean Gene in general.
He was such a personality. The promos, and he's one of those guys that when he was really good at getting the talent over that he was interviewing, and that was one of the things Mean Gene always did great. He knew how to ask the right question and then let the talent take over. And these were the days where it wasn't scripted wrestling. It wasn't, bullet, word for word, this is what you're saying. The wrestlers would come out there and they would get creative. And Mean Gene used to know how to handle every situation. Of course, we've seen tons of videos of like the sign falling and Mean Gene reacting to it, or someone having a cigarette out when Mean Gene was doing that legendary interview with Ric Flair with a tear in my eye, and then he's like, put that cigarette out. And like, we've seen Mean Gene break to like make sure the interview is perfect. And we've seen him do funny stuff in interviews and break up laughing and stuff. If you go on my page, I posted a lot of those classic promos of Mean Gene just having a good time doing his stuff. But some of the most legendary interviews, like I think sometimes we forget about it, like, but Mean Gene was a part of them with Savage and the cream of the crop and the cup of coffee in the big time, and Savage would come in there with all these props all the time, and Mean Gene was this guy, and they just had great chemistry. Obviously, there's probably no better chemistry than Mean Gene and Hulk Hogan.
Absolutely not. There can't be.
Like, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Like that was the beginning of like every Hulk Hogan promo for the main part of Hogan's big boom in the 80s and the early 90s. And Mean Gene was even there when Hogan turned heel and just added to the moment because their history. And Mean Gene was always, pro Hogan. And I even posted that really cool segment of Mean Gene training with Hogan on my page. It was a classic segment from back in the days when Mean Gene teamed with Hogan to take on I believe it was I forget right now, but yeah, no, like check it out. Like there's so much that Mean Gene's been a part of. His hotline that he always used to pitch,
Yeah. Well, not only in WWF, but he was the voice of WCW in their prime too, when they were kicking WWF's butt.
Yeah,
and he was always at the forefront of wrestling, and like you said, and it's probably the best thing that you could say is we took him for granted, like, because he was just always there. He was a staple. He was a mainstay in professional wrestling.
Yeah, because if you think of like other guys, and that's the thing, like if you think of guys like Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, all these guys that you can put in the same category as Mean Gene, Lord Alfred Hayes, and all these guys that were part of those golden era rock and wrestling era of wrestling, that when the initial wrestling boom. Because anyone that really knows the history knows that Mean Gene started out in the AWA with Vern Gagne, with Hulk Hogan down there and stuff as well. And then I think people really, really got to know Mean Gene during that boom in the late 80s, mid to late 80s with the WWF. And then he continued to be a figure in WCW at the end in the late 90s when he left the WWF. And then in the early 2000s, he's back on WWF television.
Right.
He's doing backstage skits. 2001, he was there to, do commentary with Bobby the Brain Heenan for the Gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania 17. He does, like I said, in 2002 and 2003, they started that WWF Confidential show, and Mean Gene was your host.
Yep.
Then you got Vintage Collection. I don't know when it aired in America, but in Canada, Vintage Collection used to come on every either Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and it was just showing old school. And this was pre-WWE Network. I think they had the classics thing that they had, that streaming classics thing that they had
24/7 or whatever.
Yeah, like we didn't have that in Canada, so like this is pre-network. So we used to get this Vintage Collection show, and it was hosted by me and Gene, and it was always so much fun. And later on, it was actually hosted by I think they shortened the name from Vintage Collection to just Vintage, and it was hosted by me and Gene and Renee Young, and it was just such a cool thing to see me and Gene always still a part of the thing, because like I think like he's one of those guys he's one of the most recognizable faces from the wrestling world.
Right. Maybe not necessarily to the outside world.
No, I think he was. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Is I think when someone sees Mean Gene, they might not be like, "Well, it's Mean." Like, that's that guy from wrestling. He's one of those guys. Like, there's some people you'll see and you'll never know they're from the wrestling world. Yeah. But there's certain guys like people like, "Oh, I've seen him before." Oh, he was that interviewer guy from wrestling. Guy. He was the interviewer guy from wrestling. You know what I mean? That's who, because he was just always on TV. If you really think about it.
Yeah, he did all. Up until Sean Mooney took off, he was always doing the Royal Rumble reports and all
American WWF All American, the syndicated shows. He was doing the Tuesday Night Titans after he took over from Vince McMahon. Like, he was like their go-to guy, and in the WCW, like we always talk about the promos he did with Macho Man Randy Savage. You talk about the promos he did with Hulk Hogan with "Let me tell you something, Mean Gene." Obviously, those classic promos from the AWA with Andre the Giant, where he put on his jacket, or the one that we always see in montages and video packages and stuff, where Andre's putting his hand over Mean Gene's face because it covers the whole thing. I was doing it before we went on the air right now. Like, I used to love how every time Ric Flair would get interviewed by Mean Gene in the WCW, he'd be like, "Mean, by God, woo, Gene." Like, every single time. And it became like the thing. And those two had great chemistry together. And that's the thing. Like, all of your greatest and most favorite wrestlers probably have a moment with Mean Gene. That's like
all of your classic wrestlers,
yeah, like Bret Hart, when he won the first title in 1992 and he gave that speech about dreams still can come true. It was Mean Gene that was interviewing him in that Mean Gene spot on top of the podium by the entranceway, and it's in the Mega Powers uniting. Who was in the middle of them on Saturday Night's Main Event? It was Mean Gene, Great promos with Jake the Snake Roberts. He'd be scared of the snake, and that's the thing, that Mean Gene was such a personality. He knew how to react to things. He knew how to play things and play his role.
Yeah, and he was just he was perfect at it. He made promo seem larger than life.
Yeah,
from the guy who wasn't actually cutting the promo. You know what I mean? Just like his reactions, like, "Oh my God, like everything that Mean Gene touched was gold." Like, even
he was like low key wrestling royalty in a sense that like he could get away with a lot too.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
The clips in WCW where he's fighting with the Natural Born Thrillers, or like Hogan just turned heel, and Mean Gene's comparing him to trash.
Right.
They're still respecting Mean Gene enough to not there was even a point in that NWO promo, and that's the thing, like Mean Gene being the one to interview Hogan right after he turned was so great, because I don't think anyone else could do it to the same extent. Like, Mean Gene was telling like Scott Hall to move out of the way. Like, they were like still respecting Mean Gene. Like, he had this level of respect in the business. When you look at it that way, that's like, that's Mean Gene. Like, no one's gonna, like, you've never seen Mean Gene take a bump.
Right. Exactly.
No one's gonna hit Mean Gene. He's the man.
And just think about the NWO interview, like at Bash at the Beach after Hogan turned heel. And this is not a knock on like Tony Schiavone, or was Mike Tenay there at the time? I don't know, but there's not a knock on anybody else.
And Dusty Rhodes, I think, on commentary.
But nobody else would have made. So let's just put Dusty Rhodes up there, right? Let's just use him as an example. Dusty Rhodes is an icon, but he does not make that moment like Mean Gene makes that moment.
It wouldn't have worked with Dusty. Like, I wouldn't have worked with Dusty Rhodes because at the end of the day, you think of Dusty Rhodes, the wrestler. It wouldn't have worked with Bobby Heenan because you know that Bobby Heenan's had this hatred for Hogan for years. He
Mhm.
was telling I knew it all along that Hogan was like this, you know.
Yeah.
Tony Schiavone, it might have worked, but I think it would have worked. I think Tony Schiavone. When I think of Tony Schiavone, I think Four Horsemen. I think the Jim Crockett guys. When I think of Mean Gene, I think of Hulk Hogan and the WWF guys. So
Yeah.
that's why Mean Gene was a perfect person for that. I think it's not a knock at Tony Schiavone, but if it was Tony Schiavone and it was something Ric Flair guys did, or Lex Luger or someone, or Sting did, I think that's a lot more fitting because Tony Schiavone's those guys.
Right.
Mean Gene was these WWF guys. He was Hogan. He was the New York guy. He was, I think, even when he was in WCW, like he went back with these guys. That's why it made more sense. And the reaction he gave when Hogan said the fans can stick it was just like money because that he's never heard that come out of Hulk Hogan's mouth. What's wrong with this guy? Like,
Yep.
and it sold it perfectly. And just and obviously when he got older, we had a lot of backstage skits with him at being older with Mae Young and stuff. And I don't know if any of you guys watch Legends House, but
Oh, he
if
was
you ever wanted to see the
awesome.
personality of Mean Gene, like just watch Legends House. Like they had this girl that was like their main host who like set up all their games and activities. Her name was Ashley, and Mean Gene just always was just had the hots for her in every episode. And Ashley's coming, he'd get so excited. He just had a love for life, had a love for women, had a love for drinking, had a love for entertainment. I forget who was saying it. I read it. I think I read it somewhere in a tweet. One of the wrestlers might have tweeted it the day he passed away. But I think it was Jerry Lawler. He was always ready to help with the drink in his hand, always asking what he can do to help. And I'm like, I can totally visualize. I'm like, I never knew Mean Gene personally. I met him once, like a very long time ago. A WrestleMania 32 weekend, actually, so it wasn't that long ago. But like I could totally see that because he was always there. He must have been like the most consummate professional.
Yeah, he was Mean Gene. We met him in Orlando at WrestleMania 33 Access, and he like legitimately took the time. Like he got up, and I got pictures of it somewhere, but like he got up out of his chair to come around, and he like shake Roxy's hand and was just like talking to her, like, oh man, like it's great to see young people have such like an affliction for the previous wrestling, previous people that were in wrestling, like the classic superstars. And it's really nice to see it. Where are you from? Like he legitimately like took the time, like, oh, where are you from? Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Naples. I know exactly where that's at. I've been down there a couple of times, and was like naming hotels and stuff, and like went out of his way. And you meet like other people, and they're nice, but they just kind of go through the motions, And this is a guy, Mean Gene, who's basically been like a celebrity in professional wrestling for at this time like 40 years almost, like 30.
And 40. I think that's the thing. Like that's why I say he must be one of the most familiar faces in us because like he's been on it, people's televisions for over 30 years.
We've been born.
You know what I mean? For over 30 years. And that's something like he's one of those guys when people see him, they do recognize that he is someone. He's not someone you've seen like, oh, that's no, but like, I've seen his face somewhere before, but I just can't remember where. He's one of those wrestlers that like, because he's just anybody like, dude, like he's Mean Gene Oakland, Honestly, but if to be a little lighthearted for a second, like he's one of those guys. He falls in that category of guys that when I was a kid, I already thought was so old.
Right,
like,
yeah.
He might have been like 40, but he looked like he was like Ric Flair, or like Arn Anderson, like they're in their 40s. And Vince McMahon too, like they're in probably like their 40s and shit. And now that I'm older, like I don't think 40 is even old at all. But I was like, man, they must be like 60 or something. Like I always thought Mean Gene was already so old, and he wasn't.
Well, I mean, like in 96, he would have been. He was 54 in 96.
Yeah, but even in the 80s, I thought he was so old.
Yeah, I mean,
look at that stuff. Like I'm like, oh man, this guy must be.
He had like that Steve Martin syndrome.
Yeah, but he honestly a legend, truly one of a kind, really irreplaceable. I think people, like I said, I think we took him for granted because he stuck around for a lot longer. He was just here for guys like Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. They kind of you know, when they exited the business, and that was kind of it. Mean Gene kind of always stuck around the business. Like,
Yeah, he never exited the business really.
he was never really off screen. Like, even Monsoon, when he was the president of the WWF, like, he would appear every once in a while, and like, you know, he did a lot more backstage stuff. Same thing, you know, Bobby Heenan, once WCW shut its doors and they let him go a couple of years before that, like, we never really saw him on wrestling that much anymore. Besides, what, WrestleMania 17, of McMahon Appreciation Night, he cut a video, like, you know, like, he wasn't. You know, the Hall of Fame, like, those are probably like the three big ones I can remember him actually being there for.
Right.
Say the same about Jesse Ventura, all these other personalities of wrestling that we kind of came and left, or kind of did more behind the scenes stuff, and we just, you know, we got it. But like, Mean Gene's almost kind of like how we'll probably feel about Jim Ross, because he's always around the wrestling business. Like, sometimes I think we might take Jim Ross for granted because like he's just always around. Like,
right. Yeah.
Could say the same thing about Jerry Lawler. Mean Gene's on that type of vibe, you know?
Yeah, he really is. And,
yeah.
You know, and they've all kind of been around for like almost a similar amount of time. At least JR and
Lawler is obviously a wrestler. He's been around since like the 80s. But.
Right, yeah. But as far as like commentary and
announcing,
Ross and Mean Gene are almost on the same exact wavelength when it comes to that. You know,
and just always sticking near the wrestling business, not really just kind of. And I'm not saying like sticking to wrestling business, like just showing up to like WrestleCons and doing, like, they're literally keeping active on a weekly basis in the wrestling. Like, Mean Gene was always doing something.
Yeah.
And like, the hotline plugs back in WCW. Like, how many of us kids got in trouble trying to call that, you know?
Right.
And he'd always be like, make sure you ask your parents before you call. Like, nobody asked their parents. What do you
Those were 1-900 numbers, man.
There's a phone number on the screen. It's gonna disappear. There's a phone right here. Don't know where my parents are. I'm calling.
Call Scheme Gene's hotline.
Who is coming to WCW? I need to know right now. I
mean, did you know that Mean Gene was he was in a band?
I posted a picture of my story today, which is Friday, but I posted a picture of him in my story, and a very young Mean Gene with full set of hair next to a band. I didn't know if he was interviewing them or if he was in the band.
No, his name was Gene Carroll. He was in the band.
That's a picture I have. If you check out the picture on my story, a couple of days ago, you'll see it. Someone actually sent it to me, and I thought it was really cool because I'm like, I've never really seen like a very young Mean Gene.
I got to look at that because I don't believe that there ever was one.
Yeah, no, that's how I think. I'm like, wait, that's Mean Gene with a full hair, no stash? What? No, man. I did a great tribute for Mean Gene on my page as well. You can check it out. I did a bunch of posts. I did like special ones of just him and Savage and him and Hogan. Him just plugging the hotline, because I think that's something I think a lot of us that are a little bit younger, kind of born in the 90s, we remember that most notably because we were watching WCW. Mean Gene making us call the hotline. But
Mean Gene debuted in the AWA in 1970.
Yeah, that's insane. And AWA, dude, and like he's just, I don't know. It's sad. It's a sad thing for wrestling. It's a sad way to kick off 2019.
I just hope that's not a sign of things to come, because there's a lot of guys that are in bad.
We've had some rough years. I think it was 2016 where like we lost Piper and Dusty Rhodes and so on. And I was like,
yeah, 16 was hard.
I was trying to find finding Mean Gene clips, and like I said earlier, like if you haven't watched Legends House, I wish I could do the season 2 one day, but watch Legends House because Mean Gene's just hilarious on there, and he says a lot of funny things. And I posted a couple of them where he's like, "Oh, I had a great time, but like, I hope I didn't offend anyone, and if I did, F him." But he actually said the word, and it was funny. And then even like his Hall of Fame speech, he said some funny stuff. Hopefully he's somewhere now. He's hanging out with the crew. Meeting his old family and friends that might have passed in the past, and working on Heaven Mania with Macho Man cutting promos, and Mr. Perfect and Rick Rude and Owen Hart on the card, and all these guys, British Bulldog and Yokozuna, and all these guys he knows, the Ultimate Warrior and Dusty Rhodes and Hot Rod. But I saw a bit
Mean Gene style promos with him.
Yeah, they're just and I was looking for a Mean Gene video on Legends House, and I went past that part on the last episode where Piper starts playing Scotland the Brave, and I'm just like, man, I miss Hot Rod.
Yeah,
he was one of my favorites growing up. And he oddly reminds me of my dad, the older he got. But Piper was the man. But yeah, man, rest in peace, Mean Gene, legend, icon, Hall of Famer. just like we said, just like a constant in the world of wrestling entertainment, like in WWE and WCW, just wrestling. Like he's just one of those guys that was just a fixture, man.
Yep, he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore. I'm pretty sure we talked about him when we did commentators.
I don't think we did. No, I don't think it was. We did commentators specifically, but there was a Mount Rushmore for interviewers and stuff. And yeah,
He'd be in the George Washington role.
me and Gene, maybe Tony Schiavone, because all the great ones at the Four Horsemen back in the day.
Yeah,
I'd throw Renee Young up there. She's been the most successful one of the modern era.
yeah. I mean, I feel
Literally.
like she's kind of successful based off of how the WWE is trying to portray themselves as well.
No,
Not-
but like
not a knock on her.
she's literally been the most. Well, the commentary thing might feel like that, which I understand, and I think she's great. But like, dude, like she literally has done. They put her in every fucking role, from interviewer to like hosting Talking Smack. She was hosting Vintage to hosting the Social Network stuff to hosting the panels and the kickoffs. Like they throw something at Renee Young, and she does it, and that says a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They had her jumping angles randomly. The moves with the commentary stuff does seem like what WWE doing, what the WWE is trying to portray themselves. I can understand that, but there would have been nobody else they could have used if there wasn't a Renee Young there. I wouldn't want.
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't be like, oh, Charlie Caruso, or like
All right, Beth Phoenix on commentary.
maybe
more.
I was gonna say maybe one of the former female wrestlers, and they'd be like, Renee Young seems like the perfect fit for that.
Yeah, because no, Beth Phoenix is love Beth
honestly,
Phoenix.
And I dig Charlie Caruso. I dig Kayla Braxton. I dig all these girls. There's another one. That's the thing. There's another one too, like in Dasha Fuentes or something like.
Yeah.
But I remember when they first came to the scene. This is like I couldn't tell the difference of them. There was nothing really unique to them until now. I kind of figured out who's who, but it took me a while. That didn't happen with Renee.
No, you knew exactly who she was.
And I feel like for me, it's a little biased because I live in Canada and I did watch her on Sportsnet a lot before she went there, because she did all the wrestling shows on Sportsnet before WWE hired her. But yeah, she was special. She was unique.
What's cool with Renee Young is that she plays both a face and a heel.
Yeah, and she was on Total Divas. Like that's why I'm like, Renee Young has probably accomplished more. She's had her own shows on the network. Like and that's pretty much when you think of the other guys. When you think of Mean Gene Oakland, the great thing about Mean Gene is that he wasn't just the interviewer. He did Tuesday Night Titans. He did All American. He did stuff on prime time. He was just always like, he did the hotline. He did like he's always, yeah. And that's why I'm like, out of all, and I'm not digging on any of the other interviews. Like I think it's Carly Trusso that also does like Charlie Trusso or I can't even say her name. That also does stuff for ESPN and does a bunch of other stuff. Like she's not a workhorse, but like when it comes to WWE content in the modern era, like the one person I think about the most when I'm like, oh, who's like the main? If someone's like, who's their main interviewer, I'd say Renee Young.
Yeah.
Like if that was a department, she's probably the boss.
She's the Michael Cole of that.
Yeah, like Michael Cole is probably the boss of like commentary,
Yeah.
Renee is like the boss of like the interviewers. Like
it's like just, when Tony Schiavone was the boss of the commentary in WCW and F that all up.
Like stuff like that. Like, and then these are hypotheticals. I don't think that's how it works. It's not departments like that. But if there were hypothetical departments like that, like that's how I would see it.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
So
rest in peace, Mean Gene.
Rest in peace, Mean Gene.
Really not forgotten.
Now let's talk about something that just broke today, and that today is Friday. Hulk Hogan showing up on Monday Night Raw for the Mean Gene Memorial.
Yeah.
This might sound a little controversial. We're not trying to say this in like a negative way. I am a Hulkamaniac. I've done stuff with Hulk Hogan in the past, as in terms of giveaways and stuff through me, Hogan's Beach Shop in Cordillo. Hogan's been very kind to me. He coined the nickname the Prince of Madness. Well, I said it, and he told me to run with it. So that was like my stamp of approval to run with the Prince of Madness nickname. That's all Hogan, man. And he follows the page. I know my brother grew up like the biggest Hulkamaniac. I grew up biggest Macho Man fan, but like I'll always have like this respect and stuff for Hogan. Do disagree with everything that happened.
Right. Yeah.
In his personal life, with that situation. It's totally not right. It's something that should never happen. I think he wishes it never happened too, but
I feel like he wishes it never happened more so than he was like apologetic about it.
Oh no, for sure. I think so. I'm not gonna. Once again, like it is what it is. But is this like, I don't want to say this in a bad way. Like, do you think they're using the Mean Gene thing to cop out to bring Hogan back? Because that way it takes less of the heat of just Hogan coming back. Because he did do the whole Saudi Arabia thing at the Greatest or Crown Jewel, but that was a
Right.
different country, different vibe.
It,
Different,
no,
I think the American fans might be a little harsh. We know that he went backstage on one of the pay-per-views earlier this year. It might have been Extreme Rules. Apologize to all of the employees and the talent back there about what happened, and some people reacted differently towards it. Like as for like the New Day put out a statement. I think Titus O'Neil put out a statement about it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is his return to like weekly, regular television on American soil for the WWE, and they're doing it in a way because me and Gene passed away. This will be the way to bring Hogan back. And I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't feel it's like that. I feel like it's just like Hogan and me and Gene, like they did have.
It's like Santa Claus and a reindeer. Like
like having you know, that's how I see it. Like but I'm just saying I think there might be the perception, and being the social media guy, like I am sure I'm gonna read it when it happens on Monday that people be like, oh, this is, you know, why, you know, Twitter is the worst place in the world with people. I'm sure someone's gonna tweet it, so I just want to jump the gun and be like,
I'm sure they already have tweeted it. Is the, you know, but I don't think that it's. I understand why people could get upset, but I don't think it's a cop out on WWE's part. I really don't.
I don't either. I think they already knew Hogan was coming back. This is my perception. Hogan was coming back regardless.
Yeah, so why not now?
I'm sure that you know, they're just trying to figure out a way anyways and stuff. I get that. He was coming back. They brought him back at Crown Jewel. He came back, does apologies. They want Hogan to be an ambassador for the company again. Mm-hmm. They banished him for like 3 to 4 years or however long it was. They you know, they you know, he did his time, you could technically say. For some people it might not be enough, but you know, that's like any sort of crime. For some people that got the most affected by it, sometimes it's never enough time. Sometimes they want people to be in there for life, and that's true. Like, and I have this, you know, and I totally understand that. I'm not against that. That's, you know, that's how you feel. But in a sense, like if this was like a legal system, like technically he did his time, and now he's out, and they were going to bring him back eventually. Not everyone was going to agree with it, and I don't think everyone will ever fully agree with it. But he's Hulk Hogan. He's coming back eventually. They already used him at Crown Jewel. And I think using him for the Mean Gene thing isn't a cop-out, isn't a cheap way to bring him back because, you know, people are sympathizing for Mean Gene. Now let's bring back Hulk Hogan. I think it's more of just the timing works. And unless it was going to be Vince McMahon coming out there to talk about Mean Gene, there's no one better than Hogan. No. Vince is the only other person I think would do it, but right now Vince McMahon's a character on TV again. With this Vince
McMahon is now calling the shots in the WWE, guys.
You can't come out there and break character and, you know, do something with Mean Gene.
But I mean, Vince McMahon did die the week before Chris Benoit's tribute show.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, WWE's never been scared of controversy, right? You know, taking risks to, like, you know, see what happens, and this is probably them doing that. But I still disagree with everything Hogan said. It was very rough, very wrong. But like at the end of the day, Hogan, the person, has been nothing but great to me, and he, I don't know. I know it's a topic we probably should be talking about, but the news broke today. He's coming back Monday Night Raw, the Mean Gene thingy, and pay respects to Mean Gene. And I knew people would be talking about it. And this is Squared Circle DNA, and we try to talk about the stuff that you guys are talking about as long as it's not too crazy. So I thought we'd touch upon it, and that's my opinion on it. I know you guys' opinions might differ, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. And you know, Hogan's home. He went to jail and he's home.
He's coming back regardless. WWE is wrestling, and Hulk Hogan is WWE. That's just that they go hand in hand. It's a package deal.
And I understand if anyone still has feelings towards what happened. You have every right to. And I'm never gonna argue or debate with you why you should or should. You have every right to, but it just some things just are. He went to jail. He did his time. He's back. It is what it is. Um, you don't have to love him. You don't have to respect him. You don't have to appreciate him. But
But guess what?
there's a whole
He's
bunch of
coming
people out
back
there.
anyway.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of people out there that do and have different standpoints. And I know we live in a society now where like everyone gets angry at each other when they have different opinions rather than just accepting people's different opinions. People would rather just riot against your opinions and try to change everyone and be like, no, we're right, this is wrong. But I still grew up in a world when I was younger where people had different opinions and agreed to disagree, and life went on.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
But that's to be like an old type of way of living these days. But yeah, I'm open. You guys know me, man. On my page, we have different opinions all the time, as long as it's not um, attacking someone verbally through their sexual orientation or race, or just attacking them and being mean and in a negative way. Then yeah, man, we disagree on my page all the time. But
Yep.
so same thing here, man. Another thing that's a little controversial, and I'm just trying to spice things up on this show because we want we want you listeners to know everything that's going on. But I'm not going to go deep into this. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. If you know, you know. If you're on social media, as most of you are, because that's how you know about this show, because you know the Wrestling Classic, you know Squared Circle DNA. Nothing but love and respect for Tony Storm, man. It's shitty what's happening to a lot of these female wrestlers with their their privacy being invaded. But
yeah, it's
it's an unfortunate case that happens when you become a public figure. That nothing is safe and people are dicks. But wow, nothing but love and respect for Tony Storm. She's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite female wrestlers of the past couple of years, ever since I started watching Progress a couple of years back when I went ham on watching Progress, like the first 30 chapters or whatever I watched. And she was one of my favorites from that time. So when she was in the Mae Young Classic for the 2 years she was, I was a huge Tony Storm. I was excited. I'm like, fuck yeah, Tony Storm. And then when she won this year, it was super cool. She's young, she's talented, she's great, she's unique. She's different. She's not like your cookie cutter, no gimmick female wrestler. She's she's got that cool look. She's cool. There's something about her that she's cool.
She has a cool. She's like Kevin Nash, in that respect. Just like,
but kind of even like Paige when she first came in. There was something because she was so different and made her cool.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is blonde hair, is pretty girls, makeup, and then someone comes in and they got, Tony Storm's got like the war paddle paint under her eyes, like she's about to go tackle somebody on, in a football game, and she's got a baseball cap on, and she loves her Guns N' Roses and stuff, and then she's just cool. She's just the home person, and nothing but love and respect for Tony Storm, man. I hope all is well soon, and she gets past everything that's going on right now. And if you don't know what's going on, we live in the age of the internet. Go Google it.
Or the Google machine.
I don't want to be the one, and I know technically talking about it is bringing it to the surface, but other people are talking about it. Page guys are tweeting out, Renee guys, Alexa, all showing support and stuff. So I think it's right to talk about it. But if you want to know what's going on, you go search it. But just know that don't be an asshole. Let people be. Let people live their lives and do whatever the hell they want in their private life.
Exactly, man. It's the world we live in, man. People just want to invade on everybody's privacy anymore, man. It's a shame. It really is, but
I guess let's do things a little differently. We usually start with the heat of the week and stuff, and we usually maybe the heat of the week was the Hogan thing, Hogan coming back.
All right, that's gonna be some serious heat.
And then we usually jump into Raw and SmackDown. But since it was just yesterday, let's mix things up a little bit. Let's talk about Wrestle Kingdom, man.
Yeah,
because Raw and SmackDown, sometimes people might not be people's favorite thing to talk about, and we just had we talked about some very serious things for the last little bit here about Mean Gene passing away and Hulk Hogan coming back and Tony Storm. Let's mix things up.
Fun.
Let's talk about Wrestle Kingdom, man. One of those shows I anticipate the most each and every year. For the last 4 or 5 years, it's like the WrestleMania in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's in the Tokyo Dome, January 4th every year. They made a huge announcement that next year it's going to be taking place over 2 days.
Yep.
It's going to be January 4th and January, which is, for years has been that thing swirling around that Vince McMahon wanted WrestleMania to take place over 2 days.
Right.
That's been a thing that has actually been a rumor for years, off and on. And now New Japan's actually doing it. They're gonna take Wrestle Kingdom and have it take place over 2 days. And and it was a great show last night. I'm gonna have to be quite honest. I really enjoyed it from top to bottom. I enjoyed it. There was no point. I stayed up. I started watching it in the middle of Ibushi versus Osprey because I didn't know it started. AJ messaged me and she's like, "Blood," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Wait, the wrestling start?" She's like, "Yeah, you're not watching it." I'm like, "Oh no!" Whipped out my laptop, logged in, did my thing, and doing the thing. Yeah, bang bang. Sorry, that came to my head. But then and I started watching Wrestle Kingdom, and Osprey and Ibushi totally killed it. The tag match was the tag match was fun with the Bucks and everything.
Yep.
Cody and Juice was fun. I don't know. I think I've always enjoyed Cody since he was in the WWF. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I ever since All In, I've had like a new level of respect for him just because the way that match made me feel with him and Nick Aldis. It was just a big match for you, and it just seemed like that night Cody became a star, like a top guy in my mind, winning the NWA championship that night. But anyways, yeah, we'll run down every match if you want to pull up the matches really quickly. But what I'll quickly give you my 4-1 on it. Danny caught the highlights and stuff. He had to go to work, so he had to sleep.
Right.
But I did watch top to bottom, so I'll give you a quick rundown what I thought. But I do want to say, just overall as a show, for me, tremendous fucking show. Great wrestling, top to bottom. There wasn't a match where I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I will say, though, there was something about this Wrestle Kingdom that just did not leave me with the same level of satisfaction as the years prior. And that's not a knock on them. It's just sometimes that's the case. Like, like WrestleMania 32, for example, was a really decent show, but it'll never, like, it's not WrestleMania 17. Or it's not, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Not that it was a bad show. Like WrestleMania 18 is a perfect example. That was a great show top to bottom too, but not that it was a bad show, but it wasn't WrestleMania 17.
I feel like this Wrestle Kingdom was a move. It was a step forward show where they were just trying to progress everything.
Well, I have an analogy of why it felt the way it felt. I really do. And that's what I want to get into really quickly while you're searching the card. But the thing is, I think it's because it's a transitional year. Similar to like WrestleMania 18, where it kind of felt like transitional. Like WCW's bought out, they're trying to figure it out too. Like 2002 was just a weird year, right? Like overall, it was just a weird year, and we've had those every time. And I think New Japan Pro Wrestling's in a weird year now too, because for the last like 4 or 5 years, they've really had like the draw when it comes to things such as the Bullet Club, the Elite being like a big factor to the Wrestle Kingdom shows. I think they gained a lot of new viewers of New Japan Pro Wrestling because of guys like Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, guys showing up there for the first time and stuff like that.
Right.
AJ Styles being there, like that did bring a lot of new viewers. And I'm not trying to discredit anybody that any of the Japanese wrestlers, because they're all talented as hell too, but a lot of people got exposed to those wrestlers only, like a lot of Western fans got exposed to those Japanese wrestlers only because they wanted, because of those guys, right? But then I'm not going to discredit guys like Tanahashi and Kushida and Okada and like, you know, Naito and then Shibata. Like these are the guys that I really like and stuff, right? And the thing that I was going to say was, oddly enough, that like the Bullet Club things kind of died down. The Elites technically, potentially, and this is the thing I kept questioning the whole night, because I'm like, I went in there like, oh wait, the Bucks are going to lose because AEW is starting. Cody's definitely going to lose because AEW is starting.
Right.
And I wasn't sure about Kenny. That was the only one I wasn't sure about, because I'm like, wait, well, Kenny really not, like, because we don't know yet. Like, there's still some, like, is AEW going to have a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling? Is that how it's going to work? You know, are the guys going to be exclusively signed to AEW?
Exactly, and that's the thing that's interesting, is because there's so much that's not known about AEW yet, which is cool.
And we're going to talk about AEW because there's a reason why I'm saying, like, well, it'd be exclusive, because they're trying to run this like its own promotion now. It's not like, because we already know that they're not going to have a working relationship with Ring of Honor, because all these guys left Ring of Honor and kind of did their farewell to Ring of Honor.
Yep.
So like that's what, like, you know, and we know Marty's still there because he's under contract, and like those, you know what I mean? Like, so is that the same thing happening in Japan? And if that is the case, now Japan has to move forward without these elite guys, which they definitely can, like Tanahashi. Like, another thing I want to say that was great about the last couple of years of Wrestle Kingdoms was that title reign of Okada was just, it was great. It was just that long title, as long as like that super long title reign of Okada where Omega was trying to get the belt off him, Naito was trying to get the belt off him. Like it made, it had me really invested in the story.
Right.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like I went into this Wrestle Kingdom just to watch it because Wrestle Kingdom's always great. Like how a casual fan would just watch WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I watched just Wrestle Kingdom because it was Wrestle Kingdom, but I wasn't really invested in the whole Kenny Omega Tanahashi story. I get what it was, the old guard versus the new guy,
Right.
You know, Tanahashi carried New Japan Pro Wrestling to him. That's supposedly the dark days of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then Kenny Omega is like this new superstar that came through who thinks he knows everything, and Tanahashi's trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't so invested into the point where, like, maybe I didn't have the same expectations as people, and that's maybe why I didn't enjoy it as much.
Right.
And everything just seemed to fly by. And usually the night after Wrestle Kingdom, there's like clips from certain matches like I want to post. Like the one year I wanted to make sure I posted about Jericho and Omega's match, and then I wanted to post about the other match, or like I didn't feel like I didn't wake up this morning like, oh, I need to post about this match and just show this match to everyone else.
Right.
And not that any of the matches were bad. Ospreay and Ibushi killed it. Ishii and Zack Sabre killed it. The triple threat match with the Bucks and everybody, you know, the Tongas and Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, like they killed it. Like that triple threat tag match thing with the Evil and Sonata, like great match. Jericho and Naito had a great, entertaining, fun match. You know, Omega and Tanahashi had a really, 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 really good match, but like I just couldn't. I wasn't like, I didn't leave watching. And this maybe is just my opinion, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I just didn't leave this Wrestle Kingdom being like, oh, this is one of the greatest Wrestle Kingdoms I've ever seen. Was it really effing good? Yes. But
right.
I compared it to some of the ones I've watched in the past few years, and I left those like just like wanting more.
Like mind blown.
Yeah.
Like, why do I watch WWE?
Yeah, like, and I watched, and I still had the same feeling. It's like, oh, I love New Japan Pro Wrestling because the wrestling's always so great, and New Japan Pro, and I've said this in the past few weeks. To me, New Japan Pro Wrestling is wrestling. WWE's right. Sports entertainment. I expect WWE to do things that are going to sports entertain me. I expect New Japan Pro Wrestling to give me great wrestling, and they delivered. They did exactly that. They gave me great wrestling yesterday. I was very entertained. I don't know. There's just either I've become immune to it, maybe, or I just like, I don't know. I just left it like that was great,
right?
But
well,
am I missing something? Like, everything went by so fast. It was, you know, Cody lost, the Bucks lost, Jericho lost, Omega lost, all the Gudgeons, or however you pronounce it, the foreigners lost.
Yeah, well, but it made sense. Also, a lot of the matches were a hell of a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Like compare from last year, and what you had, 3 matches I want to say that were over 30 minutes.
No, and I think only 2 matches went really long, and that was Jericho and Naito, and Omega and Tanahashi was supposedly the longest match in Wrestle Kingdom history.
It was 39 minutes. Jericho and Naito was 22 minutes. I mean, everything else is floating around 10 minutes and less. Ospreay was 18.
Yeah.
Jay White and Okada that was only 14 minutes.
Oh, and I didn't even talk about that match. That match might have been, you know, I know, oddly enough, like, and that's crazy, but like, oddly enough, like, that was the match I was probably the most invested in, was Okada versus Jay White. But they told a great story. Okay, let's run down the cards and really quickly, and I'll tell you everything I felt about every match.
Okay, so
don't do the gauntlet because I didn't watch the gauntlet.
I was gonna say, did you watch that?
I'm unfortunate that I missed it because like Marty Scurll's in there and he's my boy, and all that stuff. But and like Davey Boy Smith Jr. is in there, Harry Smith. But I missed it. I didn't watch it. You know, shout out to Harry Smith and Marty Scurll and Hangman Page and the guys that I really enjoyed that I totally missed.
Right. Yeah. So it opened. You had Will Ospreay and Ibushi.
I caught this in the middle. Great match. Obviously, you got some of your flippy stuff from Ospreay. You got some great exchanges, some great, you know, a lot of good exchanges between the two. Strong style from Ibushi, man, and it seemed like he got hit with some strong style from Ospreay too that knocked him out. Reports are that he had a concussion, but he should be okay. Nothing long term, nothing too serious. Got taken out on the stretcher, but man, it was a good match, and Ospreay won.
The highlights was
won. My bad. I said none of the foreigners won, but Ospreay and Zack Sabre both won. So I guess none of the elite won. and Jericho, who be closely associated with the Elite.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You had the 3-way tag match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight,
and
tag
I thought this was a great match too, man. I think they told, and I mean, that's what I mean. Like I can't. And there's not going to be a match that you talk about and be like, "Oh, this match sucked," or "This was the match of the night where that guy won the tag titles with a 12-year-old kid" or anything. Like that's not going to happen on this show.
Right.
Yeah. It's not going to be like nobody was paying attention to that main event. Like every match was great, and it's the same with this triple threat tag match. Huge shout out to all three teams. The Bucks did some amazing stuff in this match. Evo and Sonata are Japanese homegrown stars, and Sonata's great, man. And Evil is like, he's great too. Like if people don't know who these guys are, like check them out. I think the Tongas did a great job at like playing this like new year, new me thing where they're trying to be good guys throughout the match and like not break the rules. But at the end they ultimately paid because Evil and Sonata won.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. If this is the Bucks' last hurrah for maybe the time being, I don't know what the relationship is. Like, it was a good way to go out, man. They gave us a solid match. Danny's still dying over there.
Still dying. I was gonna cut that out, but maybe I'll do it now.
What's the next one?
So the next one was actually the 3-way tag team match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion.
What one did I talk about?
You talked about the one with the Bucks. This is the one with Bushi and Shingo versus Suzuki Gun.
Ho and Show and those guys.
Yeah.
Ho and Show.
Yo.
Show and Yo or whatever. That was a good match too, man. That was a good match.
It wasn't even 7 minutes, which is crazy, and that's
what I was gonna say. It was a good
the
match,
whole point.
Like, I forgot about it, and that's why. Maybe there's a match you can forget about. And that's that one. It wasn't a bad match. I actually do remember watching it, but yeah, it flew by. I'm not gonna lie. I got up to heat up a couple slices of pizza during that match, and by the time I came back, I'm like, "Wait, is this match over?" And that's when I realized, like, yo, there's something weird about this Wrestle Kingdom. It's going by real fast. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that happened on the previous Wrestle Kingdoms, but maybe I was just I went into those with higher expectations and anticipating them more because the matches that I was investing, like, I was ready for Omega Okada. I was ready for Okada Naito and Jericho and Omega, and like, I don't know, those cards. It just seemed like maybe I was way more into them. I don't know.
Right. And that's probably what it was. It was not because they were the storylines were easier to get into from an outside perspective.
Yeah, and I haven't been, and that's also I'm guilty of myself. I haven't really been following New Japan as closely as I was a couple of years ago. That's
Right.
and I spent a lot of time this year in California, and I wasn't watching a ton of wrestling, and I've been back, and I haven't been watching a ton of wrestling. So I went into this like really actually knew what the card was like a couple of weeks ago, and then like, oh yeah, it's Wrestle Kingdom, I'm obviously gonna watch it, and then I was just like, okay, yeah, that was good. It wasn't great, but it was really, really good.
Yeah. After that, you rolled the British Heavyweight Championship. Ishii beat Zack Sabre.
Oh, Ishii beat Zack Sabre?
Or no, I'm sorry, Zack Sabre beat Ishii.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure Zack Sabre won.
Every single title changed hands.
Yeah, well, that's something cool about this event. And every match was a title match besides besides Okada and Switchblade. But this Ishii and once again, great match. Different styles, they clash. It worked well together. Ishii's more of a striker, hard hitter, strong style wrestler. And if anyone that's seen Zack Sabre, man, he's that. What did AJ call it? Pretzel wrestling? He likes to wrestle like a pretzel. He's locking you in holds, headlocks to like unique holds and tying you up, or stretching you, as Stu Hart would like to say.
Right.
He likes to stretch his opponents, and it was a good match, man. And I this one I remember saying to AJ because we were watching at the same time together, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm really tired. This match might put me to sleep because if this guy keeps locking on holds, I'm like, because I was really tired, not because I was like it was a bad show or anything. It was like 2 a.m. and it wasn't, man. It kept me entertained the whole time. I stayed up and like, this match is great.
Yeah, it was only 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Juice Robinson and Cody Rhodes or Cody. Sorry.
Good match. I went into this. Wait, I'm like, Cody's losing. And at this point, after the Bucks lost, I'm like, oh, that's when it hit me that, I think all the Elite guys are losing tonight.
Yeah.
And like, that's when it hit me. After the Bucks lost that match against Evil Sonata and the Tongas, I'm like, oh, the Elite's losing tonight because AEW, they're leaving. Like, fun fact, obviously, the people that know a little bit about AEW, and I guess we'll tie it in, like, Where are the Jaguars from? Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is sporting the colors in his gear. He had the teal with the leopard print in it or whatever it was. And
well, and not only that, so what they're doing is they have their rally in Jacksonville on the 8th.
Why don't you give a background to AEW a bit about the Jacksonville, why that's important? Because the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars is one of the main investors for AEW, putting up like I think
the owners of the Jaguars. Yep.
Yeah, putting up like $100 million.
Yeah.
For this project. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, and they're trying to get this on the Turner Network, whether it be TBS or whatever, which WCW used to be back in the day, as well as they have TV deals, obviously with like Fight TV and stuff like that for AEW, and and
Tom's got a lot of money, bro.
Yeah, and the rumors are like they're trying to sign talent exclusively to AEW. They're trying to get the TV deals locked in. They got JR working behind the scenes with them and stuff. Jericho's probably supposedly working with them behind the scenes and obviously potentially on air as well. It's like I think it's a bigger deal than people think. Like, don't get me wrong, it's too early to tell what's going to happen with it or if it's going to work or not. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they're going to compete with the WWE right off the bat, or they can even compete with the WWE. Can anyone compete with the WWE? Like, at the end of the day, the WWE is the beast.
I think it's been too long that WWE has been the lone show in the U.S.
And it's not, and Impact had a good run against them. I think, honestly, in the early years, the first decade of Impact, I think they did. I think when Hogan guys came in, that's when it kind of fell off as competition. When they actually tried to go head to head with them is when they died.
Right.
In my opinion, right? But like, there is a sense, there is that perception of that WWE's the place, that's the top dog, and anyone that denies that or tries to be a smart ass and like, this place is that, like, you don't get it. Like, WWE is the place. Like, you're just trying to be one of those hater people. Like, it just is the place. It may not be everyone's favorite place. It might not be everyone's favorite product. They might not be booking everybody the way you want them to be booked, but it's the big dog. And
exactly.
I'm not saying that no other company can ever compete against them. Dude, but right now, like, Ring of Honor is doing the Ring of Honor thing. Impact's really just starting to figure out who they are again. They're trying to redevelop and rebrand themselves and figure out where they fit in this equation. So they're not the guys. New Japan will, to me, once again, that's always comparing apples to oranges when they try to compare New Japan to WWE. They're two totally separate things.
Yep. Well, I don't know if you, I don't know if you realize this, but with the way that they're starting the talks with AEW, SmackDown is in Jacksonville, literally 3 blocks away from where this rally is going to be.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, right? That's so cool because this rally is being basically led by a guy that WWE just shit all over while he was there almost his entire career, who deserved so much better. His brother deserves better, and it's absolutely insane that it's come that far full circle to where you might actually have a legitimate contender, because independent wrestling has never been hotter. Ever since All In, independent wrestling has just blown up completely. And with something like AEW possibly getting a TV show locked in on a major network, like that's absolutely insane.
So I did have a discussion with someone though yesterday. I forgot who it was, and they're like, "Well, do you think they ever can compete?" I'm like, there is a chance in the sense that it gives people another place to want to go that they can go that isn't the WWE, that isn't New Japan. But the only way for it to ever be competitive with the WWE is that they have to be able to offer the same amount of money. Because there's a lot of guys in the WWE that are being booked poorly and should be bigger stars. They're doing great on NXT, and then they come to the main roster, and they're like, you can't. The top spots are Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Like, everybody else is just floating around the mid card. Finn Balor's, the Bobby Roodes, the Shinsuke's, the Sanities, like all these guys that seem like they're going to be huge in WWE, go to the main roster. I'm like, the reason why they all stay is because it's great money. It's a living for them. It's a career. It's a job. People forget that fact. They think, oh, if they're getting booked poorly, they should just quit and go somewhere else. Like, no, if they're getting booked poorly, and not everyone can just be booked poorly, quit and go somewhere else, and still make the same amount of money for the long term.
Exactly.
Some people have more responsibilities. Some people actually have, families and mortgages and kids and stuff that they'd rather just stay in the WWE and continue to make that same amount of money, regardless how they're being booked, than someone who might be a single wrestler who doesn't have a family and kids and stuff and can just quit and go work the indies, going to get big paydays in the indies for being a former WWE star and continue living. You know?
Exactly.
So, and I'm like, that's the part people forget. So I'm like, unless AEW, and a lot of people, there was a period of time where a lot of guys left WWE to go work in Impact because the schedule was better. They could get paid quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
And they could still support their families and stuff. If AEW can do that same thing for wrestlers, give them a lighter schedule, pay them the same amount or enough to make them get by, as well as just not be the WWE, not be so corporate.
Yep.
A lot of these guys might actually want to go to AEW, and that's where the competition might actually happen. If you go back in the history books, that's what WCW was. Guys could leave the WWF, go work somewhere where they get paid a lot more money, work less dates, and creatively probably do more.
Yep.
Because it's not so corporate. It was ran by a bunch of guys that clearly weren't Vince McMahon. So, like point blank, and that's why WCW was able to get guys like Hall and Nash and all these old school WWF stars and people, because we get to get paid more, work less. Like, that's the part that people need to look at. Not they're booked poorly, they don't get pushed. Why is Finn Balor still there? If he should just quit and go back to Japan. No, he shouldn't. He's probably not going to make as much money in Japan as he's making the WWE off merch and everything else, and being on TV each and every week.
Exactly.
But if someone else can offer that same alternative, pay them the same amount of money, maybe give them a lighter schedule, give them a little bit more stuff to do creatively, and they have more of a chance of, then maybe the consideration of, if I go, then I can do all that stuff, get paid the same amount, work a lighter schedule, and hey, maybe I can be a top guy over there. That's probably like something that's further down the list of priorities.
Yeah, that's the be all end all right there.
Yeah, but that's a further, like, being a top guy and being booked properly. I don't think the older I get, I realize isn't as important as, can I pay my bills? Can I support my family? Would I be making more money? That matters in a grown-up world. And I think kids forget that. And they're like, well, if you're being booked shittily, why don't you just go work the indies? Well, this guy, like Austin Aries did it. Austin Aries is a single dude. I don't know what his actual situation is, but like, he's a single dude. He does less responsibilities on him, I feel like, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, but you know what? He's been a big enough name to where he's probably making a decent living. Like,
and then yeah.
I would say, like, listen to Joey Ryan on Austin's podcast.
Yeah. No, that's true. And a lot of guys can. And the elite are symbols of that you cannot have to work for the WWE and continue doing the thing.
Exactly.
And also, it's also a dream for a lot of people to work for the WWE. A lot of people want to have a WrestleMania match, want that stuff.
Yep.
And that's why they go there, to even just get that in. Another thing that I want to point out, and I know we totally cut through our Wrestle Kingdom list of matches. We'll get back to that. But now we're talking about AEW, because this is what I want to touch about AEW. A lot of things that people always say, like, I'm still getting to, like, I'll get DMs from people like, oh man, like, this AEW thing's cool, but I'd rather have the elite come to the WWE and do their thing. And I'm going to say this for the 50th millionth thousandth time on this podcast. I've said it 50 million thousand times on my live streams. The elite coming to the WWE would never get to just do what they do.
They wouldn't be the elite anymore.
They wouldn't be able to do the elite thing. They'd do the elite thing the way the WWE wants it to be, because the WWE is a corporation at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Everything that you do in the WWE is what the WWE chooses you and wants to do it. I think there's only one thing that is part of the WWE, and I'm not even NXT. Like, if you're on NXT, you're still doing. Do they do better? Yeah, but you're still doing what they want you to do.
Yep.
The only thing that is organic in the WWE, that is separate still, kind of, and that works, and and he's mentioned how he's had to fight to keep it that way, is Xavier Woods' up, down, down.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else that's under the WWE umbrella, they're hands-on it. Yep. They control how it needs to be portrayed in that, because as a corporation, they have an image to keep. They have shareholders to please. They have advertisers to,
Damn right.
they call all the shots. The Elite wouldn't be the Elite in the WWE. And think about it, the Elite isn't just like one guy. It's Cody Rhodes, it's the Young Bucks, it's Kenny Omega, it's Hangman Page, it's Marty Scurll, it's all these guys. WWE can't even book the guys on the main roster to a high level that are like really talented people.
Exactly.
guys that were like top names on NXT, like Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley, who wasn't on NXT, but you know what I'm trying to say is a guy that could be a top guy. Sanity, Shinsuke Nakamura, Andrade Cien Almas, all talented guys, all doing stuff, but those are guys that should be getting opportunities. Finn Balor should be getting great opportunities because they've been there. They were great big shows NXT. You think they'd be huge on the main roster, but they're not. Like, why would you bring 5 guys in and think they're all going to be on the top of the card, top guys just going to run WWE? That's not how it works.
Yep.
Them doing their own thing secures them to continue being the Elite.
Yep.
And I just want to say that for the 50 millionth thousandth time. Yes, it would be cool to see them in the WWE. It'd be cool to have an Elite invasion and there'd be like an Elite versus, but that's not how WWE would book it.
No, they wouldn't at all.
And history has shown us that anytime anybody invades, the WWE is going to win. Because in that idea, in that type of the mindset of like, oh, the Elite invading stuff, like a lot of marks, and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm a mark too, but a lot of marks look at that as, oh, well, obviously the Elite's going to win in the end. No.
I know.
In your imaginary booking of that, you would have the Elite win in the end. You'd have the Elite have the big victories over the WWE guys, but that's never the case. You know how the Elite fights against the WWE? They start their own promotion.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, you talked about Kenny Omega being part of the Elite. I know he was one of the guys that was under contract with New Japan through the end of the month, and our good buddy Dave Meltzer reported yesterday that WWE threw like a huge multi-million-dollar contract supposedly at Kenny Omega.
Yeah, and these guys, I'm sure the Bucks have had a huge multi-million-dollar contracts. All these guys have. It goes back to the same thing, man. Like, I don't think, and I think they've seen, and this is the thing. You have 5 guys that actually, and Kenny actually was signed for the WWE in their development years ago, and he was in Deep Valley or Ohio Valley or whatever the hell it was, OVW and stuff.
Right.
You have 5, and the Bucks have done work for the WWE. They've had their, be pretending to be DX in segments and stuff, and they've done their, the extra work for the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had their run in TNA as Generation Me, so they kind of get how a corporate structure works in that sense. And they've also all worked for New Japan, which is their own type of corporate structure. My point is this, though. There's 5 guys that really haven't had like a proper run with the WWE, like on the main roster, this and that. When it comes to the Bucks, Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega, who has worked for the WWE, but I mean, like, not to the extent that Cody has. Cody knows the pros and cons of the whole system.
Right. And it's such an interesting dynamic because when all of the rumors were swirling about AJ Styles leaving New Japan and coming to WWE, like, it was the same conversation. It was the same, oh man, they don't know what they're going to do. He's a TNA guy at heart. Oh my God, they're going to bury him. And then, holy shit, like, he's one of the top guys in the company.
AJ Styles is a success story, and that's to the merit of AJ Styles just being that good, and also to the merit that AJ Styles was a individual that came in. He came in solo. You have more of a chance to succeed the way people want you as a single person than trying to come in there with 5 guys and all of you being top guys.
Well, I'm just talking about Kenny Omega, period.
Oh. If Omega came in solo, yeah, definitely there's opportunity that he could be a top guy. I'm not going to – all these guys have that opportunity. Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre. Half the guys that are still in NXT, Aleister Black.
Half the guys that were in NXT that are rotting away on –
How big was the hype for Shinsuke?
Shinsuke was ridiculous. And
he was killing in NXT. He was killing it when he first came to the main roster. And by the end of 2018, like, I forgot he was the U.S. champion.
Yeah.
Until Survivor Series rolled around.
Yep. Which is, yeah.
And then, like, and my point is that, like, And it's not a knock on the WWE's booking too. They just have, and this is why AEW will probably prosper too. WWE has way too many top stars, but only
Exactly.
so many top spots. That's not a bad problem to really have, but it does suck for fans of certain people.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a bad problem to have. Like, realistically, with the fact that Roman's out right now, and this is not like you think they'd build top stars a lot faster. I think they're finally starting to do that for Raw, but like, it's not a bad problem to have. It's just that they need a way to separate. Like, maybe it'd be cool to, for AEW is a cool place with a lot of these guys that could be top stars when the contracts end. Be like, maybe I'm going to work over there and be a top guy over there. And if we've learned anything from history, man, competition makes everyone step up their game.
Absolutely. So that being said, what do you think about what are your thoughts about the supposed Double or Nothing?
It'll be great. All in was great. Don't get me wrong.
You think it's going to have the same luster, though?
At some point, no, that's what I was about to say. At some point, these guys might lose their, they might burn out or something.
Right, and that's my concern.
That's the difference between everybody else and Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it's true. Vince
McMahon eats, sleeps, and lives this shit.
Yep.
And everyone else burns out. Jeff Jarrett burnt out. Dixie burnt out. Ted Turner, AOL merger. Turner burnt out. Bischoff even burnt out. He tells you all the time. There was a point in 1999, I just left and I was fishing, and they told me to come back. Like,
right.
Uso burnt out. Because not everyone's Vince McMahon. But this is it. What they're trying to do in AEW is that there isn't a single guy trying to run the show here. You have 4 guys. You have the Bucks and Cody Rhodes. All 4 of them have to burn out for this to die.
Right. The Bucks and Cody Rhodes are 3 guys.
Yeah, which is a cool way of thinking of it. And I think they have this right now. They have all the motivation and all the hype, and the fire's lit. All In was a success. The Elite's been amazing for YouTube and stuff. They're so over, man. Their shirts selling like hotcakes at Hot Topic. Like, Pro Wrestling Tees probably sold more Bullet Club shirts than anything else they've ever sold. When these guys
Pro Wrestling Tees is Pro Wrestling Tees because of the Bullet Club.
No, 100%. They're on a high, and I'm not saying it's going to be this year and next year. Like, I hope it's years down the road that they burn out. But right now, I think Double or Nothing's gonna be great. And I think the thing that's great too is there's so much talent out there, man, that AEW can have that isn't like. I've been sitting here talking about those guys in WWE that they could eventually sign when they're like. Look at the people that were on the card for All In that aren't in the WWE. Look at the Joey Janela's, the MJFs, the Brian Pillman Jr.'s, all the guys in MLW. Who are they gonna steal from there? There's so much talent in MLW. We did a whole episode on how much talent's in MLW.
Yeah. Yep.
Those guys on Impact and Ring of Honor that these guys could steal.
Yeah. We
already know it's gonna be the Elite. We already know it's gonna be like Kazarian and Christopher Daniels guys.
Right.
We already know, we know those guys are gonna be a part of it. But I can see guys like a guy like MJF who's 22 years old, talented as hell, lives his character, is just a son of a bitch 24/7 because he's living his character, and is so talented at such a young age of 22. Like, he could go work in AEW for like 4 years, 5 years, and enter the WWE when he's like 28, 27. And that'll probably be better for him because if he was to go there now, there's too many guys there.
Right, exactly. And they probably wouldn't use him the right way anyway.
Because there's too many guys there. And why do you need an MJF right now if there's already a Miz and other assholes already there?
Yeah, there's already a rich.
And I'm not trying to say he's like the Miz. I'm just trying to say like there's already a guy that's already kind of in that role, and there's other guys in that role. Let MJF build himself up in AEW and become a bigger star that when he comes to the WWE is undeniable. Almost, and then you want to talk about AJ Styles being such a great example, this and that, blah, 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 blah. He came in there and everyone was concerned. AJ Styles has been doing his thing in TNA and then even WCW since like 2000, okay? Yeah. He came in at the age of 40-something.
Yep.
There's a reason why. Yeah, there's a reason why it was a sink or swim situation with AJ Styles, and he swam. Kenny Omega hasn't even been in the business as long as AJ Styles.
I don't know about AJ Styles' little swimmers with all nut shots, but yeah.
But you get what I'm trying to say. So I think AEW is going to be a success. I think it'll be great. I have high hopes for it, but we don't know anything yet. Everything I just saw, we don't know anything for sure. It's still
Right.
like, oh, we'll see what happens at the rally. We'll see what the Double or Nothing card starts looking like. We'll see where they land on TV. We'll see what their roster starts looking like, and will they work with companies like Impact? I think it'd be cool if AEW it either has to go two ways. They either work with companies like Impact and MLW and stuff like that, or they do the Vince McMahon thing and they start, what's the
Yeah.
word that they used to say Bischoff did to ECW and stuff, and then Vince did to NWA.
I mean, there's a couple, rape and pillage. I know is one of them that Paul E usually says.
There's one that starts to see that I like using all the time, but I can't think of it right now. But they might have to go through and start taking talent from all these other places, sign them to exclusive contracts, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
It's definitely interesting. And as a wrestling fan, I've never not wanted a wrestling promotion to succeed. Ever.
No, same here. But but let's be honest. That's when Vince went and crusaded. Was probably my word. Crusaded through all the indies, the territories, and took all their talent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what started the boom with the Rock and Wrestling era, because he had all the talent from the territories that everybody knew: the Jake the Snakes, the Macho Mans, the Rick Rudes. He took everybody, the Andres and the Mr. Perfect, and he signed them to exclusive. Hulk Hogan from AWA. Signed them to exclusive contracts. Me and Gene from AWA, Bobby Heenan from AWA, he just took everybody.
That's why Vert Gagne hates his guts.
Exactly. Then now let's go into the mid '90s. What did Bischoff do? Guys from WWF were coming to his place. He was taking guys from ECW. He was taking luchadors from Mexico.
Yep.
He was taking guys from Japan, bringing them in, and it worked. And it caused this Monday Night, built him a roster big enough to compete. That's maybe what AEW needs to do. And as much as people like them and stuff, and this is a crazy dynamic about AEW that's different from WCW and different from WWF back in the day, might be similar to Paul Heyman a little bit in ECW, is that it's run by the boys.
Right.
It's run by guys that get them.
Exactly.
And get what it's like to be the guy, one of the boys. It's not run by a promoter. It's not run by a guy you have to trust to pay you and da da da. It's run by guys that you've worked with, you shared locker rooms with, that are going to look out for your best interest because they get what you need. And that's a sales point.
So let's say you're running AEW. Do you try to sign people to exclusive contracts?
I think you have to. And it sucks because that's going to hurt companies like MLW, Impact, and Ring of Honor, and New Japan. I don't think it'll hurt New Japan because New Japan has a whole roster of Japanese wrestlers and they can bring guys over too. And New Japan is okay to have working relationships with Ring of Honor, have working relationships with Impact and stuff. But I don't know, man. The beautiful thing would be them all working together and AEW being like the home of all these things,
That's what I'm hoping for, man. I'm really hoping that you still see the same style that we saw All In, where you see these guys like Ray Phoenix, right? And Pentagon, who wrestles for Impact and MLW, and they wrestle everywhere, but they're known. You know what I mean? I'm hoping for that at the end of the day, to where.
And I think I think that too. I would love that too, and that's what made All In special. Is that, you had the elite guys, but you had guys that wrestle MLW and Impact and stuff like Pentagon there. You had guys that wrestle in Game Changer Wrestling and Beyond and stuff like Joey Janela there. You had guys that wrestle literally everywhere, like MJF and Matt Cross.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I think they need to make it exclusive if you want to compete.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Maybe they'll get a handful of guys as exclusive,
which would work too, and then a handful of guys that and a handful of guys that are can work different places. Maybe there will be some special contracts where hey, listen, Janela can still work here, but he can also work MLW. And maybe there will be some special. I'm sure they'll have special contracts from guys from Japan. They'll bring guys in from Japan. I think they have good relationships with these companies and the promoters. Yeah. Enough to be able to do that with their talent. Okay, let's have some special relationships with these guys and their contracts. But I do think they want to have guys signed exclusively, and I think they need to keep themselves on the show exclusively, because you don't want to feel like, oh, I can go watch Ring of Honor and see the Young Bucks. I can go watch Japan and see the Young Bucks. I can go watch this and see the Young Bucks. No, I have to watch All Elite Wrestling to see the Young Bucks.
Right. And I think that's kind of why MLW never took off with the product that they have, because nobody is exclusive there.
Yeah, like I can see Shane Strickland everywhere. I can see,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Pentagon and Phoenix on Impact. I can see them on Lucha Underground. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's where it gets kind of rough. Like and that's why like. But that's the thing. I don't think MLW. I don't know what Court Brow was planned to. But did they ever have the intention to compete? Did they ever think they could compete with the WWE? I don't think so. I think in Cody guys' mind, in the long term, I'm not saying it's gonna be like a by next year they're gonna be head to head. His long term goal is that this is gonna be another place people can come. This is like another Jim Crockett WCW type of place that people can go to.
Yeah, as long as they can get out of their own way and they don't do what WCW did to themselves, where they couldn't get their egos out of their way. You know, like it was running smooth for a while, but then eventually all that backstage drama BS of just like everybody's ego clashing.
At the end of the day, though, like this is a whole different radio show we're getting into here. At the end of the day, like, well, maybe we should do something. We talk about the death of WCW, because I still think at the end of the day, yeah, it was the writing really bad and was egos a situation in WCW stuff for sure. But I think WCW would still be running if it wasn't for the AOL Turn to Time merger thing. That's literally it.
Oh yeah,
the network didn't want WCW. WCW was owned by a television network.
Right.
That's the biggest difference. Well, the WWF was owned by a family that ran a wrestling show. WCW was run by a television network that ran a wrestling show. WWF got kicked off a network and find a new one and still keep going. WCW got kicked off a network and had nowhere to go because the network owned them, and Vince swooped in like a hawk, like just came, snatched that stuff, and I was like, okay, well, they're gone.
I always wish that Bischoff would have been able to grab enough money to buy WCW.
No, same here. And that's all it was. Like, I don't think, there's a lot of problems with WCW when it comes to egos. And, you know, when Russo came, the writing did get really bad, man. But, but all in a hysterical way. That's what I was kind of laughing when I said that. Like, sometimes I watch those now to be like, wow, this is so bad. But looking back at it now, like, what's going on here? But like, I don't think WCW went out of business because of that. They went out of business because the television network just didn't want them anymore.
Right.
So I don't think AEW, like, as long as, and that's when like AEW is starting strong with having the investor that they have, having the connections they have with Fight TV and stuff like that. So they still have a place they're going to be regardless if they don't find another network. Yep. Having relationships with New Japan, Ring of Honor, and all they do, because they worked for these guys for years. Like I said when we first started talking about Wrestle Kingdom, I think these guys like the Young Bucks and stuff, made New Japan a lot more popular to Western fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a huge part of that. They really are. Not that the guys in New Japan aren't amazing, they are, but to bring those Western fans in that aren't weren't hardcore wrestling fans that love New Japan Pro Wrestling since like the 90s, these guys brought them in. You know,
gotta have the larger than life baby fit white meat white guys.
Yeah, sure. Like you say that. And like,
to get your casual fans, you do.
And like the Bucks and you know, and Cody guys all being in Ring of Honor did a lot for Ring of Honor in the past like eight years or however long they've been there. So like I think they have strong relationships with these guys that there's a limited possibilities of what could happen with AEW. But yeah, I'm excited for it. We'll see what happens. I know it's once again, like, I'm not one of those guys and be like, oh man, this is gonna be way better than the WWF. The WWF is still the show. WWF is like our Disney. It's what we grew up with, so there'll always be a place for it in everyone's heart. You know?
Right. Yeah.
And it's always gonna be that place where, like, even if it's just a part of your life. But I'm all in for like there being an alternative that you can really sink your teeth into, because I don't know what's going on in Impact right now. Point blank. I enjoyed Impact for years when it first came out because it was an alternative.
Well, very, very soon, you're not going to be able to watch Impact on television hardly anyway.
Why?
Where's
What happened?
this channel that they're going to? Like, no cable provider has this channel.
Yeah, and then like New Japan Pro Wrestling for the last like 4 or 5 years, that kind of almost became the alternative,
Yeah.
and that's what people started sinking their teeth into it.
Yep. It
You
did.
know, so that's cool to have another one that's going to be here in the Western world, and with stars and familiar faces that we know, and kind of taking the concepts that like MLW had and doing it at a different level. Because I think the concept behind MLW is great. And we talked about this.
Yep.
Younger stars, putting them on YouTube and trying to showcase them in the different sense and stuff like that. It just the funding that these guys have and the popularity that the elite already has might just change the game. But anyways, yeah, Juice Robinson and Cody Rhodes is a good match.
Juice Robinson and Cody Rhodes was not even 10 minutes long. It was nine minutes and 3 seconds.
But it was so solid. It was funny. AJ hates Juice, and I called that Juice was gonna win, and he did. I just thought this. Yeah, at that point, I knew that I think all the guys are losing. The only one I was on the fence with was Kenny Omega because he lives in Japan. He loves Japan. He loves Japanese culture. He probably has the most loyalty toward maybe the Bucks too, but I feel like Kenny has the most loyalty towards New Japan Pro Wrestling because they've done a lot for his career.
Yeah,
they've done a lot more for his career than Ring of Honor or any of the other guys can say. The other people, like Cody can credit WWE for doing a lot for his career. The Bucks can credit Ring of Honor and Impact and other places for doing a lot for their career, including Japan. Marty can credit Progress and Ring of Honor for doing a lot for his career. Hangman can just credit being a part of the elite for doing a lot for his career, but. I think Kenny has to really lean towards like crediting New Japan for doing a lot for his career. So I thought there was maybe he's the one that's sticking around, but when we get there, he didn't win in the end either. But what was the next match after Juice and Cody?
That's when you had the Ishimori and Kushida.
Fun match. I loved the Back to the Future entrance with Kushida.
Right. I did see. That was awesome.
That was a great match. I love watching Kushida wrestle. He was one of my favorites to wrestle too. I wasn't expecting him to lose. That's all I can say about that. It was a good matchup.
Yeah, I didn't realize what the theme was of it while I was watching it until I had a friend who tried to spoil it for me because he's a dick. But I didn't realize that all of the champions were losing. But it was a good match. It was surprising that Kushida lost.
But I feel like the theme might have also been, and I realized at the end when Tanahashi won, and it was like the big thing. I'm like, oh. They're bringing New Japan back because they have to. It's a restart for them.
Yeah,
and their main and they are building new stars, like Kushida losing here. The situation with Switchblade, Juice winning. Like they're building stars and they're trying to build the stars they know are staying in Japan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's what it seemed like at the end. Oh, they're just trying to make sure this show. They're making sure they're showing that the stars that are staying in Japan are the stars.
Right,
the guys that are leaving are doing the right thing and losing to the guys that are staying. And this is the new guard. Yep. Naito's the guy. Tanahashi's going to be the leader of the new guard. Even though he's the leader of the old guard, we're putting faith back in Tanahashi for the time being. The leader of the new guard.
Doing the WCW method.
Yeah, they're doing the Tanahashi's going to be the leader of the new guard until the inevitable Switchblade's coming for Tanahashi.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that's what's happening in New Japan Pro Wrestling now. From my perspective, is that they're gonna keep this shit running. Okay, we might be losing Omega, we might be losing the Bucks, we might be losing Cody Rhodes. That's fine. They do have enough talent there to keep it going. And this is them beginning to tell the stories for the next era for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is the next era for New Japan Pro Wrestling. They got some of the old guys still there doing the thing. We've been doing it for over 2 decades. The Ishis and the Tanahashis and all these guys. And they have the guys that have been killing it there in the last 10 years, like the Okadas and stuff still there, the Kushidas. Yep. And then now we're going to have the future rising up, the Juice Robinsons, the Switchblades,
Jay White defeating Okada.
Yeah. Is that the next match?
That's the next match.
Great match. Great. And I was invested in that story. And I remember at the end when they did the whole back end, it was cool having Okada come back out there in his old gear finally, dropped Gato's with Switchblade after turning on Okada. Like the whole thing was cool. And we know, and that's the one thing that's great about Okada and maybe why one, I've grown to become a huge fan of his in the past few years, and also like why I was always invested in his matches, that his stories are so simple, but they always keep you going. Like the whole him being the champion song, then him losing the championship and losing his mind, doing the balloon thing, and wearing the red, dyeing his hair red and everything, and being all like he lost himself. Then Gato turning on him, going to be like Switchblade's the future, and then Okada came out, his hair is blonde again. The money was falling. He's wearing his shorts, his trunks, like the little details are like, oh, Okada's back.
Right.
And I think the best way that would cap off that story would be Okada winning, but they need it. And I remember I was talking to AJ and I was talking to Jonathan Bozo Lapel, because at this point we added him to our chat, and I'm like, Jay White needs to win.
Right.
This is them building a new star.
Yeah.
And if he's the new leader of the Bullet Club, technically, and they want to keep the Bullet Club thing relevant, unless it's just slang of slow death and everyone goes their own ways and it fades away, but if they want to keep the Bullet Club thing relevant and Jay White's the new top Bullet Club guy, he needs to win. And then when they were going to that final exchange where they were hitting Rainmakers and this and that, I remember internally screaming and texting the group like, yo, Jay White, like, take the torch. Just take it. Like, just take it. Like, I know wrestling's not real. Like, just somehow win this, man. Like, also, and I'm an Okada fan. I think he's the man. But, like, he needed to put Jay White over here. Yep. And he did the thing. Because Okada is a made man already, regardless.
Yeah.
That's made Jay White a made man. And he's already on the road.
31. Made man in professional wrestling forever.
Well, at least in New Japan. Because, I mean, Shinsuke was a made man over there, too, and then he came to the WWE.
That's true.
But, yeah, man, I was happy about that. And then I think that was Jericho Naito next, right?
Jericho Naito was next. Second longest match on the card.
Up to this point, I think Switchblade and Okada's my favorite match. I enjoyed Jericho Naito. It was a great match, showed a great story. Obviously, Jericho's the GOAT. He can work with anyone. It was kind of slow for me at the beginning. I'm not going to lie. There was some cool spots with DDTs and through the table and stuff, but it was kind of slow for me in the beginning.
I feel like it was I feel like they were trying to tell more of a story, I guess.
Yeah. Jericho picked up the win at the end. I mean, Naito picked up the win at the end. The match picked up near the end. They did. This was the first match, and I know there was maybe some earlier in the show, but this was the first match where the false finishes became kind of prominent. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're starting to false finishes, which I thought usually they would try to save for the main event, which we did get a lot of false finishes in the main event too. But they started doing it in this match at the end, and it worked, and it was good. And I went into this match too saying Naito was going to win. Jericho held the belt, doesn't need to hold it no more. Once again, and then at this point I already came with the concept that the building the New Japan star is going to be like, okay, new era, reset.
Yep.
How are we moving forward? And I also thought Jericho's technically really closely associated with the Elite, so maybe he's be a big part of AEW. But press conference after the match, Jericho says he wants the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and he's coming after it. So maybe he works a match with Tanahashi before he officially leaves, or Jericho's gonna still be the floating free agent that helps everybody out.
I hope that's exactly what happens, man, because I love that Chris Jericho can pop up at any friggin' point.
And I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was pointing that out in the chat that I was in yesterday watching this. I'm like, because someone's like, oh, but like, it's about the same kind of topic. And I'm like, well, think about last one. Like Jericho's at Raw 25. No, he was at Wrestle Kingdom, then at Raw 25, then back in New Japan Pro Wrestling winning the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, then back at the Greatest Royal Rumble in the WWE.
It's crazy,
showed up,
right?
and then back in New Japan Pro Wrestling again, then back at All In, then back in New Japan Pro Wrestling again, defending the title against Evil. Then he had his own little cruise and had his own show.
Yeah.
And then he was back in New Japan again for, the getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm like, the guy was all over the place.
Doesn't stop. Like
and touring with Fozzy in between. And and doing the Talk of Jericho podcast. And I'm like, and it was a fun, and he seemed like that was I keep saying that last year for me was one of my favorite years. I think last year for Chris Jericho was one of his favorite years too, because he got to be a part of everything.
Yeah, it was him.
And creative freedom. And he had a cruise, and he did all this stuff. And I talk about like how my years, because I'm trying to compare myself to Jericho. I'm just saying I think we both had really good years. 2018 were both years that we'll really remember. And I'm just trying to relate to myself because I feel like if that's the way he feels, and maybe he doesn't want us, because I would never want to just like stop doing what I'm doing. if it's been so great.
Right, of course.
So I don't think Jericho wanted to stop doing what he's doing if he wants to be great. And I think, well, once again, unless they have a working relationship with Impact and all these other companies with New Japan and stuff, then I don't see Jericho fully signing to AEW.
No. And
he still
I
has,
hope he doesn't. I don't think he will.
and there's also, for so long, Jericho said he didn't want to work for any other company in American soil that wasn't the WWE. And then we saw him do the stuff with Otto All In, and now it's kind of up in the air. Is Jericho down? And then we can't forget Jericho's really close, long time friendship with an Impact guy. So I want to say Cyrus, but I forget his real name.
Oh, Don Callis.
Don Callis, yeah. They're really good friends, and everyone wants to see Jericho show up in Impact and help a buddy out, but that's not going to happen if the case is AEW, So, right. And once again, Jericho, after the Wrestle Kingdom thing, his sights are on the IWGP Heavyweight title, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I still think that he'll end up showing up wherever the hell he wants. Because
if he keeps doing that, then I'm down for it. Like, he should be allowed to show up at AEW, and the word really is that he's going to be closely helping them out. There was never any, him being official there.
So if he does that, do you think that when, if ever, do we see Chris Jericho back in the WWE?
I think whenever, because I honestly
think you think he has that much stroke?
No, I just think Vince McMahon has no idea what's going on outside of the WWE.
I believe that to an extent, but as far as something like that, I'm sure he knows.
No, now, yeah, no, for sure. I'm just saying, just generally, I think he just I think other people do. Like, I'm sure guys like Triple H do.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure Triple H was probably up at 3 a.m. watching Wrestle Kingdom.
Like, guys like that do, but I think Vince doesn't. And at the end of Vince, like, bring Jericho. It's like, okay,
he hasn't been doing it. He's been sitting at home.
He's on. Is he touring with his band still?
Goddamn, pal, you ever gonna wrestle again?
That goddamn Fonzie. But yeah, man. I don't know, man. Like, once again, like, we don't know Jericho's relationship with Vince and any of that, so never say never.
So I guess we wrapped up the show, and then you had Tanahashi and Omega for
great match,
almost really 40 minutes.
That was like I the whole show, like, the show was flying by, and I think maybe because it was like 3 o'clock a.m. I was ready to go to sleep, and I was like, the whole show flew by, and this match feels like it's forever.
Right.
It literally just felt like it was forever, and I think that kind of also tainted the match for me a little bit because I was tired, and I'm like, this is taking forever, and I wasn't that invested in the storyline, and I feel like I'm more of a Naito, Okada, Shibata fan than I ever was a Tanahashi fan. I always look at Tanahashi as like their John Cena, and I'm not a big John Cena fan. And it just Omega's the man, and they had a tremendous match. It was a really, really good match. If I was to go back and watch it right now at 6 p.m., I think I'd enjoy it. It was really late. I watched it. It was never ending. Those false finishes. It told a great story, though. But the story that was being told of, like, the old guard versus the new guard, and Tanahashi tearing down Kenny Omega, thinking that he thinks he knows everything, and and Omega saying, like, he's the fresh new face, and Tanahashi's time's up, and he's gonna be in the job of Battle Royal in a couple of years. Like, technically, like, that story would end with the young guard winning.
Right.
So Tanahashi winning was kind of like, oh, what a that sucks for Omega. Like,
it's like a slap in the face almost.
Yeah, it's like John Cena coming through and just beating Roman Reigns.
This happened though, right?
No, Reigns beat him.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh, Cena owned him in the mic.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost like the years where Cena would beat all the new guys. When Cena would just beat Wade Barrett, and you're like, oh, I thought this guy was going to be the new guy. Or Cena would just beat, Dolph Ziggler, and you're like, oh, I thought this guy was going to be the new guy. That's what it kind of felt like. Oh, this guy had so much hype, and we were all about, like, when Cena beat CM Punk and made him into WrestleMania against The Rock. And we're like, oh, we thought Punk was the new guy.
Yep. Oh.
And then after that, Cena started putting guys over from Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. But that period where Cena was beating other guys we thought was going to be the new guy, that's kind of what this felt like. We thought Omega was the new guy for New Japan Pro Wrestling, the saving grace. And, Tanahashi just beat him. which is for people that love Tanahashi, that's great. For people that don't love Tanahashi to that extent, I was like, ah, crap. It's a great story. Tanahashi's the first guy to ever actually win the G1 and then win the title at Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like,
It's their version of Hogan, man. It's their old dog of when WCW brought in Hogan.
no, it's also kind of like when Hogan beat Yokozuna for the title at WrestleMania 9. And everyone was over Hulkamania at that point.
You think everyone's over Tanahashi though?
No, and that's not true either. Not everyone was over Hulkamania at that point too, but the majority was over Hulkamania. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Been there, done that. And I think with Tanahashi, there is a sense of, oh, been there, done that. Kenny Omega was a new guy, and then Tanahashi won, and obviously his loyal hardcore fans are still like excited about it. But I think there's a point, and that's the thing though. The beautiful thing about this is if they did it because Omega's leaving, the beautiful story they can tell from here forward is, okay, some of the fans have turned to Tanahashi, now he's a champ again.
Yep.
Who's the new blood? Oh, look at this Jay White kid. He's
Right.
the cocky new guy that's coming after him. Or look at someone like Sonata or someone that might be able to get a good year and then be like, oh, Sonata's a new guy.
Maybe Tama Tonga finally starts doing something.
Yeah, because there's so much, and that's the thing. And now going back to it, there's so much talented that they can now push with these guys out that can be the new guy. But yeah, man. Okay, yeah, wow, this was long. New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, we knocked them both out.
Yeah, we talked about Mean Gene.
Raw and SmackDown really quickly to end this off. Then, man, Raw was they were the New Year's episode, so they weren't like anything spectacular. But the cage match with Dolphin Drew was cool. Drew cutting a promo after that was cool. Seth, the biggest thing that stood out to me on Raw was Triple H firing up Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I liked it.
Just because the long-term story around it, their relationship since he broke up from the Shield, and they even went back to all of that. Like, Seth brought that, you just like me when I was your pawn and you could use me, or da 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 da. And Triple H is like, no, I just want that Seth Rollins back.
Yeah.
And then they almost started getting in beef with each other, and Shane McMahon had to come down there, and cooler heads prevailed. And it was also cool to see Triple H and Shane walking out, and then Finn making his entrance, and then Finn did a too sweet with Triple H that looked Bruce straight down. It's like, and it's weird because Finn's like super babyface, Triple H is super heel, but we also know him as NXT Daddy. So it's
right.
So
they're both like Click member.
Yeah, and then at the same time you have like Triple H being a dick to Seth, who's also like used to be his baby, and then he's cool with Finn, but like Finn and Seth have like mutual respect. It's like the cool little details of wrestling that would probably piss off some like traditionalists, but it's just cool to see for like marks, because it's like, oh, we know everything that's going on here.
Yeah.
And it was like a cool little pull behind the curtain, and that entire segment I loved, but it kind of felt like the show went downhill after that.
Yeah.
The Battle Royal, Apollo won, then Apollo fought Dean, and then Seth had a decent match with Bobby Lashley, and Leo Rush sold a curb stomp like a champ, and Seth lost his shit, started beating up Bobby guys with a chair, which also goes back to kind of similar to what they're doing with Vince and AJ, with Triple H and Seth, but whatever.
Everybody's going to have those shades of gray.
Well, they need to build new stars in Raw. So when they're doing this with Seth, I'm hoping this is the turning point of making Seth the top guy, and I hope we do. I'm not against getting to Seth and Brock at WrestleMania and Seth actually beating Brock. I'm not against that. How do you build a top guy? That's how you do it. And who better than Seth? He still is like I said, when everyone's like, who is your favorite wrestlers of like the current product? I'm like, the first two is a toss up between Seth and AJ, and then Kevin Owens is like the close second, third.
Right. Yeah.
For me, that's different for everyone. But I've always been a loyal Seth fan, and I think wrestling wise, like AJ is untouchable.
Yeah, AJ is absolutely by far.
So now let's go to SmackDown.
Which I
like seeing Mustafa Ali, and I appreciate. I'm like a proud compadre seeing Mustafa Ali in the ring with guys like Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio.
Right.
AJ Styles. I think it's really cool. I don't know what the long-term plan is. It he's still like the new Tory, and it's really cool, and we're loving it. God knows what they're gonna do with him like 4 or 5 months down the road, but I'm enjoying it.
What I like watching him in the. I like that they're. All right, let me turn this back. Sorry. I like that they're giving the new guys a push, and by the new guys, I really just mean Mustafa Ali. But I hope that it actually has something that stays. I hope that it has staying power, though. That it's not just like going to be a flash in the pan kind of thing.
Yeah, like I hope he has a solid storyline. I hope maybe like they keep him relevant because like we've seen guys in SmackDown. It's kind of tough. It's a 2-hour show, so it's hard to keep everybody relevant every week. Like
Right.
if Mustafa is going to be one of the guys that we're pushing here, that still holds back guys like Rusev, Almas.
Yeah.
There's always going to be guys hurting because there's only so many top spots. There's so many top mid card spots. Like the same scenario we talked about this whole show. Like that's the thing. So who do we really want to see in these spots, and who do you think like is Mustafa the guy, or is Almas the guy that should be getting this opportunity, or Rusev, or Shinsuke? Like like
right. There's so many guys like,
and that's a problem, and they're all really good, and and that's what throws things off. And we know what the top of the card is right now. It's AJ and Brian. That
right.
is just the top of the card.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy feud, that did nothing for me.
No, it was entertaining promo wise and stuff, but yeah.
In the ring, like I'm got Samoa Joe beat Jeff Hardy.
It's one of those things. Like I feel like we must have seen this in TNA. I've seen this before.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's
same
so
thing with Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton. I'm like, I've seen this before. I'm enjoying it. I love both these guys, but it just feels not fresh to me.
Yeah, like Nakamura attacking Rusev, right?
Yeah. Did you low blow him?
No.
Okay. I'm like, that's definitely not fresh either then.
Right. But I don't care. Like they've made me not care about Nakamura as a face or as a heel, which is super sad because I love Shinsuke Nakamura.
I'm glad Rusev's a champ though, rather than Shinsuke.
I agree. But
then
that feud is awful.
Let's talk about the other only big highlight of the show, I guess, then was
Sonya Deville defeating Oh, no, not that one.
Oh, and Maddie Sachs sending pictures to Jimmy Uso. Anybody complaining about that storyline with Maddie Sachs pretending that she's seducing Naomi's husband? Don't call yourself a Trish Stratus fan if you're right? Don't say Trish Stratus is the greatest of all time if you're hating on Maddie Sachs.
Exactly.
Because Trish did even worse stuff back then. She is one of the greatest of all time. You just gotta. These are things that happen, man. And don't be one of those guys that I miss the Attitude Era, but hate stuff like this.
Yeah.
You don't want the Attitude Era back because this is typical Attitude Era type of storytelling. The biggest other thing that really came out of this show for me was John Cena's here when he teamed up with Becky Lynch, and Becky beat who did they face?
Almas and Zelina Vega.
But that's what Almas and Vega do. They help other people's storylines. They're a supporting act, and they've been that the entire time they've been on the main roster. Whether it was the Miz Bryan feud when Maurice and Brie were involved, this involved Almas and Vega. Whether it was a Rusev feud with Lana, so this involved Almas and Vega. That's pretty much what he's been doing. He's just been like the supporting act in a lot of other feuds.
Yep. Can I mark out again for Becky Lynch's promo?
Like, no, for sure.
How sick was like?
It's her show.
It's her show, but like I don't want to just replace Charlotte. I want Cena's spot too.
Yeah.
And if he gets in my way, I'm gonna drop him worse than Nikki Bella did or whatever. However she worded it, like
Nikki Bella won't be the only woman that dropped you this year.
Like, dude, come on!
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can say that to John Cena.
And Cena's a professional, and I don't know if you guys watched Cena did an interview promoting Bumblebee, and he legitimately said how he's so proud of Becky Lynch finally finding who she is, and he's probably all game for this to help Becky Lynch look more like a star, and that's the new Cena, not the old Cena that I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. He loves putting people over and doing the thing now because he's on his way out, kind of. He knows his time's kind of up, and they need to do what they're doing now.
And how interesting is it that when he finally returned, like the first person he gave any rub to was Becky Lynch.
Yeah, and that made sense because that's who he likes right now. And Cena, regardless of what anyone else believes, has stroke, man. He has stroke.
Oh, absolutely, he does.
Yeah.
And Becky Lynch is single, so she might have stroke.
Yeah. But, he just came through there and was like, I want to work with Becky. Let me do something with Becky, and that's what happened, man. Yeah. It was, anyways, Raw and SmackDown both good. This coming week, we're out of the New Year's and the Christmas holiday shows, and we're back to regular shows, so we'll see how things go. Yeah. The McMahon running thing has been creatively more fun so far.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing Shane and Triple H together. Like, I remember they got out of the limo on Raw, and like Shane was doing a little dance on Triple H, and Triple H was being so serious. And like, it's so weird because for so long up until Survivor Series 2016, 2017, since Shane returned, like we never saw Shane and Triple H in the same scene.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy, right? And then now we see them together, and I'm like, I've always been curious about that relationship because I feel like they have totally different perspectives of what they want the business to be, and like Triple H kind of snuck his way into the family, and like.
Right.
Like, and Shane's the older brother. I'm like, I'm always so curious about their relationship, and it's cool to see them doing stuff together because it takes me back to like 1999, Shane and Triple H and the Corporation and the DX and the McMahon Helmsley faction days, and them being together. So
yeah. So real quick before we wrap that, how do you feel about AJ winning? Because obviously that was inevitable.
No, that was just his way to get his rematch. They wanted the rematch to happen. They wanted to take away the rematch rule, so AJ won his rematch. I think that's fair. And they're trying to hype up AJ to be the real AJ Styles, and Daniel Bryan's the new Daniel Bryan. So now we're going to get the real AJ Styles versus the new Daniel Bryan at the Rumble. Because those are gimmicks now.
Do you think that's going to be the end of the feud, though, or do you think that's going to go all the way to Mania?
End of the feud.
I hope it is, because if it continues to go, that's... I don't know why
it's another Shinsuke AJ, it's another Joe AJ.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going with.
We get the match like 30 times. They've already wrestled each other 3-4 times, I think, already, and this will be the last time they wrestle. They're going to give us a banger. They'll move on, and hopefully we see them wrestle each other down the road again. I'm not against that, but we need a break, and Bryan needs a new opponent. Who that is, I have no idea. Who's AJ's next target? I have no idea. But we just talked about how much talent there is on the roster right now that could be pushed or used differently, so who knows?
You know what's really cool?
Yeah.
Having absolutely no idea who is going to win the Men's Royal Rumble.
I agree. I think this is interesting.
Like the women's, we pretty much have an idea, right?
This road to WrestleMania is going to be amazing. If I was going to make a prediction as of right now, this isn't the thing that, like, I was going to say Seth Rollins, so we get Seth and Brock Mania, but man, poor Braun, man. Like, should he just beat Brock at Rumble? Like,
yeah, he really should. Like, he's got to at this point, man.
Because then otherwise he's just never going to be that guy that we've been waiting for him to be for like 2 years now. Anyways, guys, we'll talk about that next week because we still have time to go before the Rumble, but we had a lot to talk about today because 2019 started off hot with the wrestling world. AEW, Wrestle Kingdom, WWE's picking up steam as we head to WrestleMania. We lost one of the most amazing people in professional wrestling in Mean Gene Oakland. Nothing but respect and love for Mean Gene. Just a fucking legend, point blank, dude. And yeah, man, hope you guys enjoyed this. And we'll be back next week, right, Danny?
Absolutely. Every week, twice a week now.
Watch the
watch along. Justin froze. I don't know where he's at. Watch the watch along. Macho Man versus Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 7. Next week, we've got Demolition versus the Hart Foundation, SummerSlam 1990. Best 2 out of 3 falls for the Tag Team Championship. One of the greatest tag team matches you ever saw. I might do my own little ad lib here to end the show. Not really sure what happened here. Maybe I'll let Justin come back. Maybe I'll just like put his voice in at the end. But yeah, you never know. Here's how we are every single week. SCDNA Show, the Wrestling Classic. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We're all over the place. You know it. Same faces, same places, all the time, brothers.